Welcome, everybody, to this forum. The title of this forum is Applications of Composite Materials for Circularity Towards a Net Zero World. Please welcome our first speaker, Anurag Bansal, Global Business Development Manager, Acciona. He has more than 23 years of experience with international construction, polymers, and chemical companies for a wide range of end markets, including both building and construction, wind energy, automotive, defense, electrical, petrochemical, and last but not least, wastewater treatment. Welcome. Our second speaker is Frederic, founder and CEO of Green Boats. He has a fascinating bio. In 2029, he completed his apprenticeship as a wooden boat builder, combining experiences in different areas of boat building. He was able to create his own company that produces boats, combining the aesthetics and appeal of classic wooden boat building with the design and engineering possibilities of modern composites technology. Welcome, Frederic. Alan Polson, Head of Advanced Structures and Sustainability in Vestas Wind Systems. He holds a master's degree in chemical engineering and an impressive PhD in physical chemistry. He started at Vestas in February 2019 in the Innovation Concept Department and is Head of Advanced Structures and Sustainability. Welcome, Alan. And then our last speaker is Frederic, Technical Specialist of Composite Materials and Processes at Jaguar Land Rover. He has 15 years of experience in the composite industry, of which more than 10 being with the high-volume automotive industry. Expertise is focused on the application of composite materials for high-volume, 5,000 units and up per annum, structural and semi-structural applications. Welcome, Frederic. So it's a panel discussion, so we start with the first question. I will ask the speakers to speak, starting from the first one, Anurag, and then going on till the end. Our first question today for our speakers is, how do composites improve the sustainability performance in your product and markets? And what is a good example of it? I ask all the speakers to stay within a minute, please.
Okay, thank
Anurag.
you. Yeah, construction is one of the biggest industry in terms of consumption of material. Now, one good point with composite is durability. And in construction, if you see, we are expending a lot of things on maintenance.
Can you take your microphone closer to your mouth? Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah, great. So one good example is like we made the world's first lighthouse in all composite. That is for marine aid, and it is located in Valencia. So the aim was to reduce the maintenance that is required in marine structures.
Frederic, it's your turn.
All right. So for us, as a boat building company, it's for sure the biggest thing, like weight saving. Yeah, we are decided to work with natural fiber reinforced composites. So we have a big reduction of CO2. So we save like pretty much 60% of CO2 compared to a glass fiber reinforced composite.
So, Alan, how do you see the importance of sustainability in Vestas related to composites? It's not working?
I'll borrow this one?
Yeah.
Yes, great. Yes, so in Vestas, we make wind turbines, and the large structures, that's the blades, they're made of composites. And the durability and the low mass enables for higher AEP, so annual energy production. And the low mass is also having an impact of the rest of the structure. So if the blades were heavier, because they're made of other materials, then we needed to use more materials in the base frames, in the nacelle, in the tower, in the foundation, all materials with a higher CO2 impact. So basically, composites is an enabler for the wind industry as sustainable energy solutions.
Thank you. Frederic?
Interesting. I think for the automotive, it's a bit similar to for the.
Can you speak closer to the mic?
For the automotive, I think it's a bit similar to the wind energy. Composite is maybe an enabler for, I would say, sustainable propulsion, like battery electric vehicle or hydrogen tanks. If I took Jaguar today as how that's benefit to our product, we mainly use composite in our tailgates, and that's make the car slightly lighter. But we're also now moving towards more recycled, I would say, product into our compound, like recycled carbon fiber in polypropylene, for example. I think that's the best example for me at the moment.
Okay, definitely. So we have success stories here for the use of composites in the different sectors. So now I would like, with the second question, to highlight the importance of design for circularity. So my question is, what are currently the main barriers for composites to perform better on sustainability, in your opinion?
You know, from my point of view, the cost is the biggest barrier. And the second barrier would be, I would say, the norms and standards.
Standards. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, you know, like...
Keep your microphone
Yeah,
correct.
okay. When it comes to building and construction, we lack standards because, you know, like, this is a place where everybody spends maximum of his or her time. And they want to be secure when they are inside a building. The thing is that when we want to make something in composite, so in order to give them the confidence, we have to follow some standard. And those are not available for composite.
Very good point, Anurag. Thank you. Friedrich?
I think it's probably the biggest point is of the loss of recycling possibilities.
So what you mean is that it's easy to produce sustainably, but it's not so easy to recycle in the same way in order to be more sustainable. That's what you mean?
Yeah, exactly. And you really think you need to design a product that lasts really like for a long time to get a sustainable product. And as well, in case of timeless designs.
Thank you very much. What's your opinion, Alan?
I think the biggest challenge with regards to sustainability for the composites, that is that they're so tough to recycle. They are even tougher to get them to enter into a circular economy. It's very expensive and energy consuming to recycle the composites. And it's even more or less impossible with the technologies today to have it to enter into a circular economy. And what we are seeing in the industry right now, in the wind industry, is that we see legislation emerging in a lot of countries where they want us to have recyclable blades, recyclable composites made of materials that is either very new on the market or not invented yet. So I think that's a big challenge. So as we see it in the wind industry, the industry is lagging a bit behind the ambitions that the politicians have. So I think that's the challenge.
Thank you. So it's a matter of fact that cars are becoming more and more sustainable. But what's the point of view of Jaguar Land Rover on the use of composites to make those cars even more sustainable?
It's a good question. Thank you.
Tough question, I know.
Yeah, thank you. So if you think about sustainability as a car, we all think about the petrol car, the diesel, and all the emissions. So you solve that with the battery electric vehicle. Then the next challenge is the CO2 embedded into your material or your processing. So that is the next challenge. Now, if we think about composite in a car, the next step will be more structural componentry. You think structural componentry, you think carbon fiber. Carbon fiber is highly energy intensive in the production. So far above steels or aluminum. So you can make it lighter. It will enable several things, but I think one of the main, well, not talking about cost, but it's a way to maybe manufacture carbon fiber, virgin carbon fiber in a more or less intensive way, or maybe using different raw materials that are less petrol dependent. That's maybe one way for me for the future or the hurdle at the moment. But then if you want to use more recycling carbon fiber, there is also I won't say an issue, but a challenge with the value chain more than the supply chain, because there is solution, there is people doing things, but we maybe need to learn how to use this material and create material or these fibers and create materials that match the production capabilities, the mechanical performance. Then there is the final one is maybe having a common and only one way to calculate the embedded CO2 of material, because you could have different way of calculating it at the moment. So having a fair comparison is sometimes a bit challenging, but we're getting there. The more you work, the more you learn.
That's a very important point. Thank you. The next question is so challenging that I will need volunteers. So feel free to volunteer for this question. This is the scope of this, which is the last question, is to highlight the importance of thinking of the product from the beginning. So how can your market segments work together to solve the circularity challenge for composites? Think of logistics, material identification technologies, applications of recycled composite standards, and so on. So who wants to volunteer to answer first to this question? I guess Anurag is ready.
Oh, yes.
No?
Yes.
Or no, Frederic. Frederic, please.
I can give it a try. So we now design for sustainability. Recycling is a part of it. So it's embedded into it. That has to be balanced across multiple things. So that makes the life interesting. The way to maybe improve that is as I said, how can we then reuse material, maybe reuse a part if the part is good enough to be reused in the next car, but that's imply having a commonalized design, or also learn about not certification, but traceability of materials. Let's say the wind energy use lots of spar caps, lots of carbon fiber. Can we take these spar caps and just maybe machine a part out of it? It's just an idea. Or recycle these fiber and then reuse that directly into our product. But the traceability will be a key element in it.
Alan, you want to add something?
Yeah, I think I would follow down the same line, and that is that here the scale is king. And I think it's really important that we make cross-industrial collaborations in order to improve the recycling rates and the circularity of the composites as they look today. And as examples, I can take what we're doing in Vestas right now. That is, if you look at the legacy fleet, the legacy composites we have out there, that's the blades we have on the wind turbines right now. We've started a project together with our competitors, so to say. So that will be Siemens Gamesa and LM, but also we could do a lot of collaboration with them in the industry, where we're actually trying to develop the value chain and material streams for recycling composites. And we also have technology providers in pyrolysis manufacturers and FL Smith that makes EPC on cement factories. So we've actually trying to develop, yes, these streams and taking base in existing technologies at a high TRL level so we can solve the challenge right now. For new blades, we have a collaboration with Olin Epoxy, So we are developing a resin that is circular. That's the ambition. So that actually enable us to separate the fibers and the resin at end of life, and we can take the resin and convert it back to the basic chemical constituents that you can reuse again, so that we don't lose the properties, physical and chemical properties of that resin. And we cannot do that alone. We are relying heavily on cross-industrial collaboration here. And I would very much like that we collaborated to a much larger extent, for instance, with the automotive industry, the aerospace industry, and other industries, the construction industries, for instance, as well. But I also see that a lot of I'm sorry to say, but a lot of these industries are really reluctant to enter into this industrial collaboration. And a really good example is in Wind Europe. Through Wind Europe, the members have committed to a landfill ban from 2025 of composites. And that's the wind industry who tried to push this through, because that will also, nurse all the development of recycling technologies. And we tried to reach out to other industries to chip into this. We're still alone.
I see a tremendous potential for innovation in this sector, and always to start with innovation is always harder than to go along. So good luck. Friedrich, boats are apparently simple products, but they are extremely complex. So what's your opinion in this respect? What is required to improve the sustainability of your product?
I think it's always like all the recycling processes are some downcycling. And for all the products we build, like the virgin products, we need virgin materials to get the right properties. And in this case, it's just hard, or you need to find, if you go this recycling process of the fiber, it can make sense, or can make a lot of sense for, I don't know, carbon fiber, where you have a lot of input energy for the production of the fiber. But I think we really should look like deeper, or what we do, we really focus on natural fibers, resin systems. They are not petrochemical based, they are like plant oil based and stuff like that. So that is something where you are able to get the CO2 footprint to a really low level, and that is something that you can easily do now, because right now it's like as well very hard to say what is the recycling possibility in like 30 years from now or something. Huh? So.
Yeah, very good point. And Anurag, this is the construction market is a huge market. So what happens there may be of significant importance of the composites industry. So what do you think about these topics that have been raised by the other speakers, and especially what do you think about the use of recycled components into new products? So which is the major point today, the recycled content in your product?
A very difficult question to answer. I would say, like, when we talk about recycling, first thing is composites are durable, right? This is an advantage and a disadvantage. Disadvantage in the sense that, just imagine like what is happening right
Anurag,
now.
Close to
Yep.
the mic. Yeah.
Disadvantage in the sense that we make a product which requires very less maintenance and with a long life, right? Now what is happening? We are having a lot of wind blades that are working perfectly, but they have to be decommissioned because the technology is obsolete. Now we are working on longer blades. So what do we need to do with them? But the material is good, but we have to decommission. So this is, from my point of view, this is a very big problem, a disadvantage of composite, right? I would say that. So what we do at Acciona is we try to start from the beginning. When we are designing a product, so we are thinking on two things. What is happening if the technology gets obsolete and the product is good? Or if my product reaches end of life. So these are the two things on which we are working. And we are doing a couple of interesting projects with cross-industry projects, for example, with energy also, wind energy also, where we are trying to use concepts like industrial symbiosis. So we are using their product and transforming them as secondary raw materials to replace the primary raw materials, which are again resource intensive. So those kind of things we are working, and I think that is very important, very key, that we should consider those points.
Thank you, Anurag. So I'm looking at the time, so we have 3 more minutes if you want to add something to the discussion. So it's a free discussion. Please, Alan, start.
Yeah, I have 2 things I would like to say. And the one thing that is on legislation, that is that we start to see that politicians would like to have a measure on recycled content in the products we make. The same goes for our customers. They would like to have targets for recycled content. And of course, that is a challenge to composites as it is right now. Also, what I said in the beginning, that increasing mass in top of a wind turbine, that has a lot of other negative effects. That's one thing. The second thing is that we also need to think further than biomaterials and hemp and flax and so on. Because if you start to do the math of how much soil do we actually need to use for making these amounts of resins and fibers we need in this industry, then you are really getting surprised. It's huge. It's a huge land, only for the composites industry alone. So that won't work. We need to find solutions that can close the loop. So I mean, what we try to think of, that is to keep carbon in the loop, if that is possible. I know it's very, very ambitious, and it's very, very difficult. But I think in the long run, that's what we'd like to see. I also think it's great to see that we start to think biomaterials. It's great to see we start to see recycling. That's the first steps, but we need to think in a longer horizon than these initial steps.
Very good point, Alan. I guess this is coming from his physical chemistry background. He can do the math. Any other thing or example that you want to add, please, Frederic?
Maybe an interesting point about recycling. If you think about the automotive industry, and if your composite part cannot be easily removed from the car, like a bonnet or a tailgate or a door, the way we recycling car is by shredding the car. So even today, when you have different steels, they stay in the same batch. You may have like very high strength steel with mild steels. They go to the same furnace at the end. There is no separation. It's easier to separate aluminum and steel, obviously. But when you add composite in the equation, the point I'm trying to make is you may be able to separate them at some point by flotation, maybe, but you may end up also with a product or a recycled product which will be polluted by whatever. I don't know. I don't have the answer today. We're not recycling massively composite in our cars because we don't have composite part in our structures, but that's something we can foresee, and I learned that today or yesterday on the stand. The plane industry has kind of facing similar issue, especially when you have parts with Kevlar, carbon, glass into it. So your I would say secondary product is like somewhere in between everything. So you need to find who could reuse such recycling product or recycled product.
Yeah, thank you. This is the point of view of the large industry, but I'm also interested in knowing from a relatively small boat builder, is the market recognizing the value of your product or not? There is a sensitivity to sustainability from the point of view of the buyers of your product.
It's a big topic, so I think it's a solution that you can go right now. And I think you need to recognize that it's a totally new niche. You shouldn't compare, or you shouldn't think about natural fiber as a substitute to glass fiber or something like that. They are just a lot of products where natural fibers make a lot of sense, and yeah, it's the nice thing about the natural fibers that it's like a really something. It's not just plastic. It gets a totally different feeling, and you create something where the owner really looks after. And so that is something that gives the product a lot longer life.
So thank you. So it's time to move to the question and answer session from the audience. Who wants to break the ice? Do you have any question for our guests, our speakers? Here we have one question, please.
Thank you. A bit outside of the box question.
Can you please state your name and affiliation
Yes,
first? Yeah.
thank you. My name is Julian Heinrich from Fraunhofer Institute, from one of the 75 Fraunhofer institutes. And so my question is not technology-based, but social-based. So all the innovations, the new materials, the new solutions, could they help accelerate, or could they help to tackle social problems? You already mentioned landfills, you mentioned a huge amount of resources we need for specific solutions. Do you have any experience on this? Is it a topic, or is it too far away?
Who wants to pick up the question? Any volunteer?
I can try.
Frederic?
At our level, I will say innovation will help. Innovation always helped. The issue is if you don't have a legislation that's penalized what you're trying to solve, you're going to be the only one to do it. So you may attract customer, but you certainly going to be more expensive. And people may just look at, if you, let's say, a car, if I told you I could do a carbon neutral car that's not emitting any CO2 because it's electric, but you're offsetting all the emission you have done during the manufacturing, but that, let's say, 40,000 pound or euros car become a 120,000 car, are you going to afford it? Maybe not. So if you don't have a legislation that offset that, or give you an incentive to say, if you make your car carbon neutral, you're in a better position. Or I don't know, that could be a tax relief, that could be a penalty for the other suppliers. If you think about the emission system, now if you're above a certain threshold, I think that's 95 or 85 soon, kilogram of CO2 on your average fleet. If you're above that, I think you're paying 100 euros per gram per vehicle. So you could quickly reach millions and billions if you do nothing. So I think that's the way I could answer your question.
I understand that Alan wants to add something. Please, Alan.
Yeah, I think in general, when you think sustainability, then transport is the big issue. So you need to find local solutions. And that's also, we have actually included that in the ways we've been thinking of recycling of the composites we're developing for a circular economy. So that needs to be a part of it. But in general, composites could also be a substitute of steel in areas where you don't have steel resources. So composites in general adds to local content.
Next question, please. Now that the ice is broken, I assume that some hands. Here we have one. Thank you.
Martin Wakeman from EPFL. I'd like to ask a question around investment in the supply chain, where we have billions of dollars of investment in raw materials, less investment in semi-finished products, increased investment at the OEMs, and then very low amounts of investment in recycling. Is there room for an industry-wide coalition funded by government and industry together to collaborate around recycling and put infrastructure in place in different regions? So following your theme of collaboration, seeing industry work together, funded by government, using technology from industry.
Very good question. Thank you.
I would like to answer that.
Please.
There are initiatives from government in this regard. For example, both at national and at European level. For example, we are working in some of the European funded research projects, and those projects are dedicated for cross-industrial collaboration together with research institutes, universities, and industries. So those initiatives are very good, and yes, there are some funding opportunities both from the government at national and at European level.
A very short comment. I also think it's very positive to see that some of our customers are actually trying to develop the value chain and recycling technologies themselves without any funding.
Yeah, so, but funding will help anyway.
Funding
to
will
boost
definitely
the process.
help. And
yeah.
we have funded product ourselves, like the decom blades. But the funny thing is also, hazardous materials in one country is not necessarily hazardous in another country. So you have to stick to that legislation you have in that local country, and you have to stick to the local infrastructure. And that's, of course, a challenge we have in Vestas as a global company.
Yeah, my point of view, my feeling is that legislation at the moment in Europe is rather a barrier than an incentive for recycling materials, because there are rules for moving waste around in the different countries that were designed to protect the safety of citizens, but may prevent the development of an efficient network for recycling. So I guess we will have to work with all together, also with the legislators, to try to solve this problem. But I guess this is already at the attention of the European Commission, and it will take time, but we will see. We have time for one last question and a very short answer from Les, please.
Hi, I'm John Gogol from Old Castle CRH, and we build construction parts.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been using recycled material for, I think, since I've been there 8 years now. And I've come into composites because I learned to improve the properties of the recycled material by using a composite with it, new composite materials. But just for all of you, going forward, and some hope is, I learned that by in-house measuring the recycled materials, managing it, and then applying it through FEA into the design, we're able just to incorporate it, and we save money. I think just going forward, that's how you implement it.
30 seconds for only one volunteer from our speakers. No answer to this question.
It wasn't really a question, it was just an observation.
I think just to back to his point, it's coming to the comment I made about sourcing. If you know where and you trust, you're able to have a huge traceability and a reliable traceability of your product. You know where it comes from, so you have qualified your material so you can reuse it. So I think that traceability is important to be able to back up your CAE and make consistent product, especially when you crash the car or you don't want to.
Yes, please, Alan.
Yeah, and I completely support that. And I think what we actually need within sustainability, both recycling and circularity, that's governance. There is a lack of governance, and I think if we are relying on these materials and their properties, so in the future I also foresee that we need standards for these recycled materials so that we can trust in them and their reliability. But I think a lot of things will happen in the coming years on that as well.
Okay, so it's my duty, unfortunately, to close this session right now. My final comment is that the industry is moving forward in this direction. There is no doubt about that. The market is also demanding solutions that are more sustainable. There is still a lot of work to do, and there is a tremendous potential for innovation, and I hope that the institutions will do their what they have to do to support this effort. Thank you for all the speakers. Thank you for all the audience, and enjoy the JEC show.